After the explosive gate incident, I thought the HOA might finally learn the limits of their audacity. I was wrong. The next affront was both petty and relentless. The HOA cops had begun running over my ranch mailbox, not once or twice, but repeatedly, as if it were some sort of personal vendetta. Each morning I would find it battered, leaning at impossible angles, and sometimes even missing entirely. First, I tried patience. I reminded myself that I had dealt with much worse. Destroyed bridges, lake fencing disputes, and trespassing fines in the millions. But this was different. The mailbox was a symbol of communication, of ownership, and of respect, or at least it had been. Seeing it repeatedly vandalized by people who had no right on my property was intolerable. I decided it was time to respond in a way that was both practical and poetic. I commissioned a new mailbox. Massive, reinforced with steel, anchored deep into the ground, and designed in such a way that no vehicle could damage it without serious consequences. I even installed a hidden camera inside, ensuring that any attempt to tamper with it would be caught in real time. The HOA members arrived a few days later, confident as ever. Karen led the charge, insisting that this was merely a harmless prank and that no one needed to get upset. They revved engines, aimed vehicles, and, predictably, tried to flatten the new mailbox. It didn't budge. The tires spun, metal screeched, and their confidence faltered. I activated the cameras and remotely recorded their attempts. Every reckless maneuver, every frustrated shout, every futile collision was captured. The footage was immediately sent to their HOA board, along with a polite notice. Any further attempts to tamper with property would result in fines of $25,000 per incident, plus legal action. The irony was exquisite. Their arrogance had created irrefutable evidence of trespass, destruction, and harassment. Karen's face turned red as she realized the futility of their efforts. The mailbox, now an unmovable monument to ownership and patience, stood tall, gleaming in the sunlight. Rangers circled the area, alert and calm, a silent enforcer of the law. The HOA members had no choice but to retreat, humiliated and powerless once again. But the real twist came later that evening. Using the footage, I filed a comprehensive report with local authorities. The repeated assaults on private property, coupled with evidence of reckless behavior, ensured that the HOA members were not only liable for fines but also faced potential civil and criminal repercussions. Karen's bravado was shattered, replaced by frantic calls to lawyers and desperate attempts to mitigate the damage. By nightfall, the mailbox stood intact, a silent symbol of control, preparation, and ingenuity. The HOA had learned, in a painfully literal way, that attempting to harm someone else's property without consequence was no longer possible. Every act of overreach had now become a legal advantage, turning their arrogance into liability. I walked along the driveway with Ranger, surveying the reinforced mailbox and the surrounding fields. The valley was quiet, calm, and fully under my authority. Each previous incident, from lake fencing to demolished bridges, had been a test of patience and strategy. This mailbox was the latest, and perhaps the most elegant, proof that persistence, planning, and subtle irony could turn petty attacks into decisive victories. As the sun dipped below the hills, casting long shadows across the ranch, I reflected on the pattern. Every HOA overstep was met with strategic consequences, carefully documented and executed. The mailbox had become more than a communication point. It was a monument to ownership, vigilance, and the absolute futility of arrogance in the face of preparation. Ranger barked softly, as if in agreement, and I knew that the lesson had been once again irrevocably taught.